This time in the BK, we're one-on-one with a bloke who skied barefoot on more lakes than the girls he's written about have had spray tans, and now finds himself heading up a role with an Australian company who makes world-class waves not wake in their own lakes. G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Brand Connect. I'm Matt Jai, and this week on the show we're with a bloke who knows how to make more than a ripple. He knows how to make waves. Mr. Wayne Dart, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Mate, it is an absolute pleasure to be sitting down talking story with you and catching up. It's been a long minute. What's been happening?
Well, it's certainly been a big couple of years, particularly from the Surf Lakes front, having been involved with them for the last, since 2015, 2016. Obviously, that whole wave pool space has taken off, and we're looking at a massive future ahead, particularly, of course, our technology, which offers so much to so many people. We're really looking forward to giving back to people and getting more people on waves.
Mate, that is such a rarity, because when we grew up, like here in Sydney, it was locals only. There was no giving up to anyone. How good is it to be able to be creating something that, you know, we all know, love and feel?
Surfing's always been my life, and it's given so much to me. So to be able to give back to people who have never seen the ocean before is just extraordinary. And I think what we have in front of us is a massive opportunity to create positive change, particularly in the world that we're in at the moment, where everyone's unsure of what's going to happen tomorrow. We're offering hope. And again, on top of that, we're actually offering hope from a different perspective, in that we can educate people on about the ocean and potentially clean up the ocean. We can offer all sorts of education programs which can actually, as I say, change the world.
And do so from a safety standpoint as well, because you're not out there, I guess, dealing with sharks, blueies, all the other things that, say in Australia, you got the box jellyfish. I guess you're up in Yeppoon, you got that, right? You're in Yeppoon, aren't you guys?
The R&D facility, yeah, it's in the middle of Yeppoon and Rockhampton. It's about 15 to 20 kilometres off the coast. Up there, no, the stingers don't come down that far. It's actually it's a secret part of the world.
Thanks
for
the
waves.
education, mate.
But there's actually some good waves up there. There's quite a big surfing community.
So who's your developer then?
Yeah, so Aaron Trevis is the founder and the CEO. And essentially, he grew up in Yeppoon, so it was ideal for him to go back and obviously give back to all his mates. And
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and but essentially, it was more a case of that particular community wanted us to be there, and we were able to build on a private paddock quite quickly.
You didn't have to do a big rally, say, come on, join the surfers.
No, that's it. And the council wanted us to be there as well, because they saw that there was potential, obviously, from an infrastructure perspective in the future, and also to bring people to the region that haven't been there before. And it's a beautiful part of the world.
Try before you buy. Research and development is critical when you're making anything, especially when you're making such an innovation in wave technology. How good has it been to have something that isn't commercial at the moment, that is a testing pond, so to speak?
So it is R&D, and we've been able to tweak it and change things and obviously take the risk out for potential licensees. But even prior to this one, we had a 1/25th scale and then a 1/5 scale model. So each model has obviously fed into the next to get us to this full scale one at the moment. And so that by the time we build a commercial one, there'll be no risk. And other technologies have obviously done similar and others haven't. They're trying to sell without an actual, proven working model, and it's quite difficult for them.
Mate, that word model we're going to step into a little bit later, because you used to work with quite a lot of models, right?
Yeah.
And they weren't wave pool models, from what I gather. They were actually human flesh, blood, blue eyes, blonde hair, a couple of rangers in there. You had the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah.
Mate, to get, a wave pool up and running, was it something that was just a lifelong dream of yours, coming from, say, a surfing and a surf publishing background?
I've been involved in the surf industry since I was 15, as a judge, as a coach, as a commentator, obviously a magazine editor. And surfing has given me so much. Whenever life, has thrown a wobbly at me, surfing always seems to stand up and give back. And
it's got the big hello, I'm here.
Yeah,
what are you doing? Come surfing.
Exactly. And then after being media and marketing director for ASP for a couple of years in 2005 to 2007,
which is now WSL, right?
Which is now WSL.
Just for those who don't know at all what the ASP was, it is WSL.
Yeah, that's correct. And I took a break from surfing for from 2007 right up to 2015, I literally didn't speak to anyone from the surf industry, with the exception of a few mates. It actually gave me time to sit back and have a look and learn about the bigger scheme of things. When you're in the surf industry, you get caught in that little bubble. And
Biggest thing in the world when you're there, isn't it?
That's right. And so for me to actually, start my own business and manage corporate gyms and work with companies like Qantas and News Corp and Allianz and what have you, I learned a lot about the bigger end of the street. It's like,
and how to model stuff, right?
How to model stuff, I guess the communication that's required, the tendering processes, all those sorts of things, which are now relevant to what we're doing at Surf Lakes, because we're going to roll these things out globally.
The Surf Lakes team, you talked about, the developer, but you've got a bit of an all-star cast in there as well, don't you? Like from a athlete, world champ sort of point of view, guys have ridden more waves than I've had Vegemite.
Yeah, well, Occy was our first ambassador, and for him, this is actually a great opportunity to give back to those who want to try surfing as well. He's stoked. Every time he goes up there, it's a fantastic day. Benny Player, who's a 3-time world bodyboard champ, he works so hard for us and is such a fantastic ambassador, and every time we get him on a call, it's positive. It's like, wow, let's do this, let's try this. And again, it's all this positive momentum rolling forward. And obviously, Barton being on there as well, and such a knowledgeable fellow, he'll be of huge benefit as we move forward and we start to roll out coaching programs and so forth. He loves getting into the analysis of different types of aspects of the sport, but at the end of the day, he loves having fun too. So for him, it's again another fun aspect of the sport. I mean, he'll travel for kilometres just to ride a 2-foot wave in a river. So this opportunity to ride endless perfect waves for him is just pure stoke for him.
No, those guys that you mentioned, including Ben, they've got the WT or world title next to them. Mate, those guys in particular, they've looked at a competitive mindset as well as a fun and I guess a training aspect to everything that they have formulated in their own prowess. But do you see Surf Lakes fitting like a competition environment at one stage?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we're already looking at different event formats and so forth that we can run in our facility. But given that we have 5 levels of waves and different types of waves to suit different surf craft, as I say, different levels of ability, we can shape it to suit. So the existing competition formats that you see in the ocean probably won't be relevant to what we can actually do in the lake. And
so Slater's Pool per se, that's now got the WSL event,
yeah,
it's not even something you're trying to knock on the door of and say, hey guys, we are here.
From that perspective or that technology's perspective, it just doesn't have the variety that we can offer. And as we get better at it too, we'll be able to offer more variety and bigger waves. There's no doubt that in the next, 3 to 5 years, we won't be creating 15-foot waves in our lakes. The technology can do that. We just haven't proven it yet, but the numbers add up, and it's certainly possible. Obviously, everything has to be bigger, but it's certainly doable. So
you might get Hollywood knocking on the door, going, "We want to create the next tsunami movie in your wave pool."
It's certainly possible.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. That's mad technology.
Yeah, it is. The technology itself is just like nothing I've ever seen. And when you look at the videos, it doesn't do it justice. When you're actually there on site and you're seeing this 1,400-ton plunger moving up and down and moving the water and watching it break over the reefs, it sends you, the hairs on the back of your neck up. It's just unbelievable.
Is there a noise that comes with it, or
the R&D one there is? In a full commercial one, it'll be pretty much silent. So the air, obviously, which is pushed into the mechanism to lift it. Once that's released to drop it, that's where there's a loud boom. In a commercial model,
hydraulic lift for a nice smooth lift up, and then a pneumatic release. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm a fitter machinist, hydraulics and pneumatics. That's what I did.
I'm no engineer. Yeah.
So that, I don't know. That's how I thought of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, once that air is released, say there's that big boom and there's the vapor release as well, which is what you see looks like smoke coming out of it, but it's actually just the vapor release. But in a commercial setting, that probably won't be there, but at the same time, it actually adds to the effect.
It's incredible. And it looks so good. It's got the smoke and mirrors of Hollywood, but in a surf lake.
It's insane. Yeah. I think the 2 best surfs I've had in the last probably 12 months have been there. When you're getting anywhere between 6 and 8 second barrels at the basically one after the other, it just doesn't get any better.
No, and to do it with your mates as well and people that you actually, because obviously you're just doing it with a team at the moment.
Yeah.
They're your mates because you work with them. You got to have that trust, no like, and that for me, that's the greatest thing because trust, no like builds trust. If you love surfing, you like the environment, you know it, you trust in your equipment being the surf lake, and
Yeah.
your boys, how good's that feeling?
Oh, it's insane. And that's one of the things that we talk about when we're out the back. It's like we sit there and we realise that we're not only just potentially changing the sport, but for ourselves, it's like that's a special moment. It's like me, Ben, and Oki, we're choosing which wave we're going to run, whether we're going to take off on wave 1 through to wave 4. And then we're out there sitting and we're waiting and we're talking and it's like, wow, look at this. And you're looking at this bizarre backdrop of, mountains that are just sticking up out in the middle of nowhere in a farmer's paddock and the sun setting, out to the west over Rockhampton. It's just phenomenal. You can't fathom what we've seen up there and how special it is.
Well, no one's ever seen it apart from you guys, right?
Oh, a few have, not too many.
Mate, the aspect and calibre of athletes you've had there, I've seen Dingo Morrison there, Joel Parko, a few other sort of, great surfers, and of all surf craft, and abilities. How cool is it to have that R&D facility there for those guys that, I guess have ridden every kind of wave known to man.
Yeah, they were stoked when they were there, and they were only there on a small day. That was when we literally had only just cranked it up for the first time. So what we're actually producing now is way better, and what we're going to produce in the next few months is going to be way better again. So, Dingo's at the ready to come back. He enjoyed himself. He loved, as I say, the local community up there as well.
Hey, mate, you got the wave going again. I'm absolutely frothing. Is that the vibe? Is everyone just like, is there lots of being, in your, I suppose, capacity at work there? Is there that big sort of record? So, hey, Darty, do you get a lot of phone calls?
Yeah.
Is there a froth behind it? Or?
Yeah, I've got a lot of new friends. Yeah, there's a lot of new friends and a lot of people, obviously who genuinely want to come up and ride it, and which is good because it's creating the demand. So when we do open a commercial model, whether it's the Gold Coast or whether there's an upgrade to Yeppoon or other, we know that it's going to be successful and people are going to have a great time and we're going to put a lot of smiles on people's faces.
Mate, what an incredible thing. Now, putting smiles on people's faces, you aren't, it's not a new sort of term that can be coined with your name, Wayne Dart. You seem to hit the mark every time. But, mate, the FHM sort of stuff before you went into, going into the ASP position, what was it like to work with, the brand values of sexy, funny, and...
Yeah, funny, sexy, useful. Obviously from a personal development perspective, I learned a lot about brands working on FHM and obviously tracks prior to that. EMAP was a massive influence in my learning about what people want. And understanding that you have to deliver what people want. At the end of the day, as a magazine editor, you can get caught up in your own little world and think that what you're producing is relevant, but that's only relevant to me. It's not relevant to that end user. And that's certainly been significant now in developing surf lakes and understanding what the end user wants, like the market segmentation and obviously the peripherals and the perimeter, how we're actually going to divvy that up and ensuring that people are having a really unique experience that's suited to them and not us. That's what it's all about. If you're not doing that, then you may as well not be in business. But FHM was a key driver.
Who was mentoring you at the time then to sort of learn those ropes? Was it the Ridgeways or was it the senior management guys? How'd you learn that rope?
The UK publishing, EMAP had a very, very good mentoring education program. And there was a couple of guys, a guy by the name of Mike Nix came out and taught me a lot about, again, understanding that end user experience. And we also had an MD there for a while, Phil Thomas, who was really good at ensuring that we delivered on our promises.
He frothed on stuff. I remember making the movie Montage at the time.
Yeah.
And he came in and was looking at some of Rick Jacko's water footage, Jacko, you legend.
Yeah.
And was just like, is that for real?
Yeah.
It was like shot on film and it was as glossy and beautiful as you could. So it was like print, what he was, obviously publishing. But Phil Thomas had a froth for stuff that worked, didn't he?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, a great fella, and a great visionary at the time because he allowed us to actually set up that, the content creation division back then too. It was like when before I went to FHM and obviously I was working with you and we were setting up that the pre-digital component of EMAP. And creating the content to grow the brands and grow the I guess the sports themselves. He oversaw that, and he allowed us to do that.
Right. He got the
Yeah.
vibe.
And in the end, that's what media is about now. And I think a lot of media we started, but I think EMAP again just shut the door on that a few years later. But media back then, print media didn't see the value in that. I guess the interrelation between that online content and print. It came a few years later.
Well, they're still advertising for it, aren't they?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So
even in Corona times, they look at you. You can get a job doing what I do.
Yeah. So back in 2000, that was sort of revolutionary. And as I said, Phil was right behind that. And then I guess the other person from EMAP Stables was Rob Munro Hall. He was a great fella as well. He was better from a management perspective for me, understanding how to get the best out of people and working for myself, obviously having my own company and so forth later. And with Surf Lakes now, if it wasn't for him, then I probably wouldn't have the same management skills.
It's an amazing lobster pot to find yourself in, having, stepped out on your own, be in the zone where you're developing your own brand, Corporate Wellness Australia, is that what it is?
That's it.
Yeah. It's a big title. It's a big brand. It got really big, didn't it, pre-corona? How was that going for you?
Yeah, look, obviously being in the gym and the wellness space, at one point there we had 7 gyms, and as I said, we were managing programs for the big end of town, so Qantas, News Corp, Allianz, Clorox, MTV. They all had their in-house wellness programs, and gym management, as I said, was one of the services that we supplied. And pre-corona, it was a very successful business. The workplace has changed, so a lot of the workforce was stood down. And within some of those companies, and I don't really want to sort of speak out of school, but a lot of those companies have laid off, anywhere between 50 and 80% of their workforce. So whether they're to be, I guess, taken back on board once everything starts up again, I'm not sure. There are a lot of positives out of it, though. I think, again, if we look at that wellness perspective, I know people are struggling, but I've never seen so many families walking down the road together. I've never seen, mums and dads and kids just playing in the park and actually enjoying the now rather than, worrying about the mortgage or worrying about what's happening next week.
It's the 1980s again, isn't it? In a way.
For sure. Again, you're looking at it from a health and wellness perspective. People aren't eating fast food. They're walking because they can't take the bus, or they don't have the money to drive. They're walking, they're riding, they're out and about and getting sunshine. So look, there's goods and bads, but I actually see more good coming out of this than bad, because people have sort of reassessed their lives and what's important to them, and again, experienced the now and not worried about what's happening in a few weeks' time.
A bit of the old human clarity is a big thing, right? So the health and wellbeing side of things, obviously, I worked side by side with you for a couple of years. I think it was 2 years, and I saw you'd always be frothing to go for a run, or I'd come back in and say, "Oh, can we have that meeting?" And you'd be dripping with sweat because you've had the run. So it's something you're not just stepped into overnight. That was over a decade ago. I think I left there in 2002 after 3 degrees. Is it an incredible, important element we all need in our lives, the health and wellbeing?
Definitely, and that's the underlying, I guess, benefit of surfing every day is movement. It's getting out in the sun, and then it's clearing your mind. It's actually, as I say, getting the blood pumping, getting the oxygen moving through the body, and just being, because when you're exercising, you're in the zone most of the time. You're forgetting about any other stresses. You're forgetting about, again, like I said before, paying the mortgage or all these other things. You're actually in the zone and you're pushing yourself. So there's so many more benefits to exercising. And again, if we take it back to just surfing, this is what we want to deliver through Surf Lakes as well. And as I say, from a physical exercise perspective, I've been a personal trainer since early 2000s, worked on different boot camps and with some great trainers. James Braben, the fellow that was the founder of the boot camps originally over at Bondi, and Rob Rowland-Smith's another great person that I've trained with, and all
the
these
Sandhill Warrior, the actual legend.
Yeah. Again, I've learned a lot from those guys as well, and that's sort of translated into my business acumen and obviously just being able to assist and motivate people.
They say the law of the jungle. Life is, it's a long game, right? It's not a short game. You can't think of, trying to accelerate your finance overnight through Bitcoin, because it is a big journey.
Everything that I've done is feeding into what I'm doing now. Even going right back, because I was an English and history teacher by trade, so to speak, and everything that I learnt back then is actually feeding into what I do now. So my role within Surf Lakes at the moment is, I'm sure I'm covering the media and marketing element of it, but also
making history.
Yeah, we're making history, but but I'm also sort of setting up have been lucky enough to set up some of the sales processes as well and engage with licensees. Look at it from an investment perspective. So again, engage into particular investment opportunities and bring people on board who are keen to get involved, and then also in the future look more from an operations perspective at how we're going to actually make sure that end user experience is 100%. It's all about the client, it's all about the customer, it's all about understanding what's going to make them froth. I mean, our aim is to ensure that we're not just providing a theme park experience or a novelty. We want to genuinely change people's lives. So these Surf Lakes facilities are, I guess, genuine parts of community infrastructure because it ticks so many boxes. As I say, going back to that wellness aspect, from a community change perspective, we can be the hub for communities which are suffering or being knocked about by the current scenarios. There's a huge opportunity for change, and it's all positive.
When you're looking at, say, something like the sport of surfing and the difficulty to it, you obviously need to have a great technology that's going to support the surfer that surfs a lot as well, like the regular everyday surfer.
Yeah.
This technology looks super impressive through the square pits that I've seen.
Yeah.
And the stoke value, and it looks like a powerful wave.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, especially if it's going to break 15 foot, it's going to be powerful.
Yeah. We haven't got there yet, but yeah, that's the aim. But,
the actual wave itself, what technology is it? Has it got a certain name to it? Is it?
We've labelled the technology 5 waves because obviously there's 5 levels of surfing from beginner right through to advanced. So we liken it to a ski field or a ski resort, so that you've got your black run, right through to your beginner run. So the black run is the level 5, so that's the pro wave, and we expect that the pros in each facility will get around in their black t-shirts or black rashies or whatever, and they'll be the heroes of that particular community. Our aim is to progress people from zero right through to hero. So through the 5 wave system, they can start off in the beach breaks and riding whitewash, and then move up to again a more open green face wave into potentially Ocky's Peak, which has got this fantastic 8-second barrel, and then into the island or the slab, which is that big heaving, chopu-like wave. So our aim is to keep people coming back and be inspired by the pros, and also aspire to get to that next level.
Full life cycle, right? So you can live through it from...
That's it.
And you can, as you get older, if you're not, wanting to chase the slab and you hit your 70s, you can go back and you can surf Ox Peak or...
That's it. Exactly. And it caters for everyone, and that's the idea. It's to give people a genuine thrill and obviously have them enjoying surfing again. And there's a lot of people that just don't go out in the ocean, whether they've surfed before or not, simply because of the crowd factors, as you said before, the sharks, the whatevers. So what we can provide is this playing field that's accessible to everyone, and our motto is everyone gets a break. So again, it's throwing the doors open to people to just come and enjoy themselves.
Well, so where to from now, Wayne? Like, where's the, where does the R&D step forward to this? Is July the next big sort of testing pond, or? Yeah,
look, at the moment we've taken advantage of this slower time to, I guess, reshape some of the ocean floor, or sorry, not the ocean floor, the surf lake floor. We're just touching up a couple of the reefs and just experimenting with some different types of liners. So the liner for surf or wave pools in general has been, I guess, an issue. So there's been different things trialled, and there's been some success and obviously some not so successful. So we've been just trialling different, I guess, compounds and so forth that will work on the floor. We've found one that suits, and while we're actually, I guess, reshaping or respraying the bottom, as I say, we're reshaping some of the reefs so we can get a little bit more out of them.
But Kelly Slater's wave pool, it has to be probably at the moment the best.
It's phenomenal, yeah. And look, but we're appealing to a different market. So,
but like that A grade slab or the Ox Peak, is that sort of the moments that you see in Lemoore where you go, wow, that's nuts.
Oh yeah, for sure. Ocky's Peak is just insane. There's no doubt, but it's not 300 metre long ride.
Well, you got to have good legs for that anyway, don't you?
It's a 75 metre to 85 metre ride. The island or the slab itself is only a short, sharp, probably 5 to 6 second ride at best.
This seems better than Wave Garden's wave. You've got 5 waves.
What we can do versus the other technologies is supply a lot of waves. So we can supply, around 2,000 waves an hour. So from an end user experience, no one's waiting. They're getting straight into it. They're just paddling back out and getting another wave. So you can get 10 waves in an hour, no problem at all. Plus, again, from a commercial viability perspective, we're pushing large numbers through. So with Kelly's wave, which, as I said, is it's an amazing wave, you've still got to wait to obviously get the next one. Whereas
it's got to settle as well, the environment, if it gets busy, right?
Yeah, that's it. And
no settling time with your setup?
No, the surface of the lake, it settles in 10 seconds. So you can literally run pulse after pulse after pulse, and there's no problem. The only thing that we have found is that humans can't keep up with it. We'd like to chat and high five and what have you, and the people that have been surfing that have been holding it up. So
I suppose you're going to have the ability to service a lot of people, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That makes sense?
No, exactly. We can literally service 200 people an hour in the water. So that means that they're not all in the water at once, but they're sort of rotating through the different breaks. It's not a 100% guarantee, but we're assuming that people will get about 10 waves an hour, 10 perfect waves an hour.
That's more than you're going to get on any beach break, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless you're just the hunter.
Yeah. No, so yeah, again, from a commercial viability perspective, we do tend to offer a lot more, and then wave variety we offer a lot more. And I think the perimeter itself lends to it's not a genuine ocean experience, but it's like an ocean experience because the lake itself is around about 8 acres. So turn the waves off and you sit there, and it's nice to just look at the water, look at the lake. It's genuinely just such a fantastic experience all around.
Well, that's why people go on vacations. I mean, there's that term city rat. You work and you're on the bus and you're on the train and you're on the ferry and you're on the tram and all those things. And then you're suddenly going, I need a vacay. To have, surf on, surf off and just this epic environment. That's got to be, I guess, a healing thing itself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's our vision for, if the Yeppoon site was to be upgraded, the vision would be to turn that into an eco-camping type facility, not a massive, overdeveloped hotel scenario, which may or may not work in a different environment. But our idea is to, like you say, it's take advantage of the healing qualities of being outdoors and again, around the lake, watching the sunset, looking at these fantastic mountains and so forth.
In North Queensland, absolutely stunning up there, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful parts of the world. I can't believe I didn't get up there earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you only know what you know and you start looking, at sort of different aspects of living, that's when it's a real eye-opener. How much has your life changed now since you've been in this environment? I mean, I remember the guy who built, the bridge climb. He was a guy who had amber tiles, and they say that he just went full gun into getting this bridge climb up and running. Is it been an incredible realization for what's possible?
Oh, for sure. And even we have conversations every day where we go, wow, we could do that, we could do that, we could do this. Okay, let's do that one. You know what I mean? It's
build the bricks, right?
Yeah, there's so many opportunities. One of the things that we're looking at the moment is creating, I guess, smaller facilities which can cater for just kids or just bodyboards.
Schools would love that.
Schools would love that. Universities, corporates, what have you. We're not just focusing on that higher end of surfer. It's let's just focus on the beginners.
And the good thing is that I've noticed, through having a chat with you, it's not like you're got your competitor's jersey on yourself thinking, we're better than this, we're better than these guys, we want to do that. It's like we're just doing our thing. That must feel great as a team to know we're Surf Lakes.
Oh, yeah. And we've got a great team, and everyone's passionate about getting people excited about surfing. That's what we're genuinely focused on. It's built into our DNA. As I say, everyone gets a break. And with that in mind, there's a massive social conscience. There's an environmental conscience as well. Sustainability is our next step. Is how do we explore, I guess, the different technologies available to ensure that each location is sustainable, and obviously running off potential solar, wind powered, whatever it is. We're looking at harnessing energy from the channels. There's a whole range of opportunities there as well, and we're even sort of looking to go so far as regenerating coral in the channels and creating mangroves and all sorts of different things around it, which is actually feeding back into the regeneration of communities from that sustainability angle. So, it's massive. We're passionate about doing good at the end of the day and giving people hope that not everything has to be over the top. As far as our competitors go, we hope they're successful. We want them to be successful. Without them being successful, we won't be, because it's a new space and we want more people to be actually surfing. So we see that our technology will actually feed into Kelly's, because you can start as a beginner in our facility and then move on to compete in a WSL event at some point in time. You know, waveguard and urban surf and so forth here in Australia, our technology won't suit certain scenarios. So again, we want them to be successful and bring more people into the marketplace.
Well, everyone wants to try what's, sort of available. So it must be great for you guys then to think, I've had a great experience down, at the Wave Garden setup or the Urban Surf setup. Can't get to the States, but geez, I want to get up to Yeppoon or where's the next sort of site pen for, do you think, in Australia?
Well, at the moment we're looking at the Gold Coast. We're in negotiation with some, I guess, potential land offerings there, and just we'll hopefully have something sort of stitched up there soon.
Webber was trying to get up there at one stage. What's going on with that stuff? Do you know? Or?
No, I don't know. I haven't sort of paid too much attention to what he's doing these days. But the Gold Coast is certainly on our radar, and potential for an upgrade to Yeppoon. The Queensland State Government has put a surf park on their wish list, which is very exciting. There's other areas in and around sort of western suburbs of Sydney. We've sold a licence in LA. We're negotiating to, I guess, the final sale of a licence for Nevada. There's been exclusive territory zones taken out, which is the first stage of our, I guess, sales process. People just can lock off their area so that we're not going to talk to any other potential licensees. So we're looking at Sao Paulo in Brazil. We're looking at Tennessee, looking at Oahu. There's a number of different, I guess, people sort of lining up to take out their zones now, so they can start looking for land and build within the next sort of 12, 24 months.
That's a lot of logic in that. I mean, the localities that you mentioned, they're big, populaces, and also, the waves in Oahu change. They're incredible, and then they're not, and then there's, it is an island, so, there's a lot of offering there, and there's a lot of surfers. It makes massive sense, and tourists.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. I mean, as we said, we're trying not to make it a novelty experience, but people will want to come and surf it for the novelty, and there's no doubt about that. But we also, again, want to cater for that lower end. So the learn to surf market is huge. So how do we get people, again, to filter through that facility and then, potentially go and ride pipe and so forth? So the idea is not just to, again, be a centrepiece for, I guess...
perfect training ground, though.
Perfect training ground, yeah, exactly. That's what we're more looking at. In that particular environment. But I mean, so for instance, if we're to drop one in the middle of Arizona where there's a massive population that's never seen the ocean, the impact that we can have on those people's lives is huge.
Well, this sort of stuff is really sustainable because it's forward movement. When you're talking about doing something like a development of this nature.
Yeah.
The game that you worked in previously, before we sort of stepped on the East Midlands Associated Press EMAP scenario.
Yeah.
What's gone on with print? Is that a blow to you? Did you ever think that mags would die?
No, it's certainly not back then. But I remember I did ask the question to the global MD, I think it was his title, when this new internet came about in the late 90s, and I did say to him, I said, do you think the internet will take over, or will print always be, I guess, successful? And he said, oh no, print will never die. So I guess there was this mentality or lack of understanding or lack of vision of the future of how the internet and how, I guess, video content would be distributed. And again, no, I didn't see the day where print would die, but I certainly saw a point where it would slow down. And I think I don't think it will ever die.
Because the word masthead, if anyone doesn't know what a masthead is, it's not just related to sort of the shipping game, is it?
No, that's right. The masthead is the logo, the tracks, the FHM, the waves, the brand.
Yeah.
And as I say, different mastheads have fallen over in the last sort of 5 to 10 years. And
who's fallen over that blew you away? Did you think, oh my God? And do you think they'll become collector's editions? Like, do you think you'll be able to go out and go?
I hope so, because I've got boxes and boxes of them at home. But
what have you kept? What's your main ones?
All my tracks, obviously, that I've worked on, and the FHMs that I've worked on. But I think there's a genuine opportunity too for people to move forward, and I've had discussions with different magazines over time about how they can link that video content and make it accessible quite quickly. So, for instance, placing QR codes on pages and having the phone there. So when you flick over the glossy page and you see the picture of a fantastic wave. It's like scan it with the QR code and the video comes straight up on your phone. Like there's little things that are actually, quite
Achievable.
basic and
Yeah,
achievable.
yeah.
But no one sort of really jumped on it yet. Maybe my ideas aren't that good. I don't know.
Maybe we need to start talking more, make comebacks of mastheads or create new ones.
No, that's it.
Talking about, when you're in that game, was there any particular interview with an athlete or athlete you worked with you thought, I'm glad I did that. That was life-changing. That person is such a good person. Or it was like a super sticky moment. You think, God, I had to work with that guy and I think he's a murderer or something.
Yeah. I think, I've interviewed a lot of people over time. I can't actually sort of single anything out in particular, but it was really cool to understand how people tick. Interviewing John Bon Jovi and so forth for FHM and, all the surfers that I've interviewed over the time and all the models and so forth. So no one really jumps out, but
what
everyone...
was John like? Was he like super laid back or was he...
He was an artiste. He was very serious. FHM, I guess, is all about taking the piss. He didn't get it.
And the ladies you work with, what sort of money were you paying to land a big cover girl?
To be honest, I don't know. I wasn't in charge of that, so I don't know what sort of money was thrown around. But it's not as glamorous as what people would think. It's actually quite straightforward, and there's a lot of work that goes into a photo
the
shoot.
office was full tilt. It was just madness, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And deadlines, we wouldn't leave the office for a week. We'd all sleep on the floor. Like, you'd be in there 24/7. Like, it was just incredible.
Like a mining camp or something.
Yeah, it was.
Imagine that with Corona these days. Like, you couldn't do it, could you?
No, not at all.
There'd be no, I'm just sleeping with the boys tonight and eating pizza and drinking beers. There's no social distancing, right?
No, that's it. We were all in that office together and we'd be in that office for a week. You'd leave to go and get lunch and come back and then that was about it.
And you had a huge wall of you worked to a wall, didn't you? You guys are like on fire to a wall.
Yeah, essentially you would have the layout, plastered up on the wall from front cover through the back cover and everything in between. We'd understand where the ads were placed and we'd understand, whether there was a double page spread or a single page or, the upfront section's obviously different to the features and to the back end. So yeah, we'd basically just be scrambling to fill that before deadline. Because if you miss a deadline, there was obviously, an extra cost.
Reading's obviously changed a lot too. People just listen and watch. What do you do? Do you read still? Or?
Not as much as I used to, obviously. And from a time perspective...
Is that because your eyes are getting bad? Or?
Yeah, the eyes are, now I've hit 50, I can't see anything. But, look, I don't read as much as what I used to. I engage in short, sharp videos where I can, listen to podcasts, listen to different, I guess... or watch different videos in relation to whether it's learning or just pure entertainment. Yeah, I probably would more, I guess lean towards digital platforms for that these days.
It's a good tech. I mean, it makes a lot of sense too, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I guess the thing with reading is that, for me, is that it's a time thing. So I'll listen to something in the car to make sure that I'm just not wasting that time in the car. I'm not listening to music. I'm actually listening to something that's going to, I guess, change my perception or I can learn from, or if there's something I don't know, I'll go and find out about it. But yeah, that time in the car or whether it's, again, I'm travelling from Sydney to Yeppoon, there's a lot of time in between. So digital platforms enable you to, I guess, take advantage of that downtime, so to speak. So as I say, if I was reading, I wouldn't be able to do that in the car.
Well, Wayne, we've come to a time of the show where I like to sort of suggest a shout out. This time of this show, I'd like to suggest, we do 2 shout outs, I'd like to throw a shout out to Mr. Philip Thomas. Mate, you were an incredible guy to work with. And I remember the cone of silence. You went in that area and it was pretty quiet. There was a bit of perspex around us, but we could double down into some great conversations. And, thank you for, the kind ear you let me have back then of yours. And obviously your voice, you resonate a lot of truth in what you're talking about. And the other shout out I'd like to say is, to Wayne Dart that I'm sitting here with. He gave me a golden opportunity to learn about deadlining and to get stuff done and to move through it and not sort of procrastinate, because essentially if, back in the day when you were shooting and producing and you weren't going live and you weren't Instagramming or you weren't Facebooking, you had such an arduous task. It was like an arm wrestle to get to where you had to get to through each and every production and product. You hear, Wayne talking about, the the substance of magazine printing. So, mate, who you like to sort of throw a shout out to?
Oh, look, it's a shout out to everyone who's helped along the way, and there's been so many. I can't really sort of pinpoint one person in particular who's changed me indefinitely, but it's a series of meeting different people along the way. Like I said before, everyone from Phil Thomas, Rob Munro Hall, Ridgway, Neil Ridgway, of course, the marketing director for Rip Curl, former editor of Tracks as well. Everyone's contributed along the way, and as I was saying earlier, it's like every single step that I've taken has got me here. There's so many people that have assisted along the way, and I'd hate to say that I could pin it on one person, because I think another person's probably done just as much. So
that is such a truity to life. I mean, I remember when I first met you, and you were saying East Midlands Associated Press. Like, met you in the environment of Thomas Street there in Haymarket. It was, did you hear the acronym, what it really means? And I was like, no. And you're like, endless meetings and parties. And that was, our whips were, Ridgway used to say to us, he goes, I don't care how drunk you get the night before when you're working and you're up with the boys and you got to hit a deadline, but turn up and do the job as good as you could if you were sober, or fucking better.
Yeah.
It was that thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. We had fun. There's no doubt that we had fun, but we had a job to do, and we always did it.
Are you pumped you lived through it? Is it one of those like we've lived through something that will never happen again?
No, that's it. And we were lucky. Everything I've done, I've been so lucky. Like, to be media and marketing director of the tour was fantastic. Like, to travel the world and see all those waves that, I dreamt of as a kid, surfing and what have you. That was an amazing experience. All the magazine experience was just phenomenal. Like, FHM allowed me to jump out of planes, to meet people, to, do stuff that I wouldn't have done if I was just concentrating on surfing, which is basically what I was doing prior. So,
you grew some wings, didn't you, Wayne?
Yeah, I had fun. At the end of the day, I've had fun. And yeah, even, the years of working for myself where there's been ups and downs, and again, I've lost a house as a result of the business sort of having those downturns. And you do it all again in a heartbeat. There's been so many good things come out of those so-called downtimes as well. So yeah, I've just been lucky.
Mate, unbelievable. The ASP days, or, which would now look at a WSL, if you look at that tour, it was always rich. There was Reunion Island, there was South Africa, there was, Brazil. What was your favourite place to go to?
I had some, again, there was different favourites for different reasons. I loved going to J-Bay. That was unreal. I had lots of fun there. And I enjoyed going to Chopu, and I probably went to Chopu more than anywhere. Way back in the 90s, when the massive waves hit for the first time, when Kobe won, and that just blew everyone away about what's possible. I mean, what I saw that day was one of the greatest days in the history of sport.
Was he the standout? Was he blowing minds more than anyone you thought? Or?
He was one of them. Certainly, like Kieran Perot, Mick Lowe. I thought someone was going to die that day, and I was 100% convinced someone would die that day. And, when you saw the Hawaiians pulling back, that it's fair dinkum. And then you see a bloke like Mick Lowe just charging and going, let's go, we're just going to take this on. And sitting there in the boat, and there's no way in the world you'd get me out there, and, you know what I mean? It's not even something that you would even fathom. And to watch these guys just taking those drops and on waves that were just so thick that there's just so much water in them that would snap a neck without a problem. It just blew my mind. If there's one moment I could relive, it would be go back to that event. That was just insane. But Chopu at Tahiti is such an amazing place. And I loved those events at Trestles and so forth as well, like in the States. I had great times there. Japan,
good people, hey, around that whole San Clemente area.
Yeah. Oh, really cool. And then, Japan, that was an amazing experience.
Malibu Point, seeing Slater and Irons, that was great surfing.
Phenomenal event. Yeah, as I say, I can't pinpoint one spot, but everything is a favourite for a different reason. I had a mate who was a dental technician and made us all false teeth. Whenever we'd pop up in a photo shoot or something like that, we'd have these massive buck teeth, and they look so real, and people would look at you sideways and go, what happened? And you go, what do you mean? And they go, what's happened with your teeth? I said, nothing's happened with my teeth. A fellow by the name of Armando Daltro, we were putting together.
Good bloke, Armando. You
Yeah,
are a legend, mate.
the top fella. We were putting together the magazine which highlighted the all the surfers that were in the Australian leg of the tour, and we couldn't find a photo of him. So I got a photo of my mate wearing the buck teeth, holding a pair of thongs, and it didn't go down well.
Oh man!
As you can imagine, there's a professional athlete that wasn't represented truly, and I did apologise to him, but
And you still got the job at the ASP after that.
yeah, I still got the job at the ASP after that. But we used to do some silly stuff like in the commentary booth, and just it was just one thing after another. But it was just
Surfing
fun.
was totally grassroots and on the rise and doing great things, obviously, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and we were lucky to probably, I guess, we were right at that at the end of just the good fun aspect of it. Like,
Do you think Fanning was the guy who sort of started, taking that more professional approach, or Kelly was already there running?
Yeah, Kelly was already there. I mean, there was a whole bunch of them. I mean, I remember, again, going to the drug commissions, the WADA meetings and so forth in France, and that was a real wake up call for everyone. It's like we got to really clean ourselves up and move forward as a professional sport. Otherwise,
because
we're just going
Neko
to be laughed
Padarat's
at.
got done, didn't he? Or when you were there? Or?
At that time, yeah, he did. Like Toby Martin was a driver of that too. Back then, was like we want to take the next step as a sport. We've got to clean ourselves up and we've got to be more professional in every aspect. So I think, obviously those next few years, I left the ASP in 2007, but yeah, there's certainly been big changes since then.
Because at that
polish
time there was PT starting to come in and work with people as well, like travelling with them side by side. I think Griggsy got the job as the pit boss around that time.
He was there obviously when Mick Fanning won his first world title. Not long sort of after 2007, 2008, Taj had a personal trainer, and then Joel started training because he could see the advantages that everyone was getting from just that extra fitness, extra strength. There's a lot of pitfalls when you're on the road, as you know. Things don't turn up on time, or you miss flights, or bags get lost, or boards get snapped, or whatever. You need a personal
Women
assistant.
throw themselves at you.
Yeah, and you need someone there to I guess help you through that. So
yeah, it's awesome to see where it's gone now. The Brazilians, they're like, if you were to do that to the T thing to Medina or someone these days, you'd be almost shot.
Yeah.
Like, those guys are absolute gods, hey, and legends. And what they're doing surfing wise is total next level.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And I remember, going back to the 80s when Flavio Padarats and Fabio Gouveia came out, and they were the first sort of, I guess, real door openers here on it was the junior tour back then. And I was judging an event at Newcastle, and that was, I guess, their first real big hit out against the Aussies like Hoyo and Matt Hoy, and I think at that stage Luke Egan and so forth. They were all in that event at Newcastle, and that was a real eye opener. It was like, wow, these guys can actually surf,
and they would have been super fast and light, right?
Oh yeah. Flavio in particular, he was just fantastic surfer, and they blew everyone away. And as I said, they just
did
busted
they get
down
the win?
door.
Did they?
I think semis. I think from memory, I think Flavio got to the semis, and there was a story behind that too. I was on that panel, and this is an international junior event, and one of the judges just decided to go to the toilet and didn't tell anyone. So the judging panel, it ended up being a countback, and Flavio didn't get through because there was only 4 on the panel instead of 5 because one guy just decided he had to go to the toilet. So it's like,
and it was a world junior event.
Yeah, and there was this massive uproar, and understandably, and I remember the poor head judge, just pulling his hair out. It's like this one particular judge that's decided to walk off in the.
Who was running that back then?
It would have been Surfing Australia, probably. I'm not sure.
These days, you'd be up in arms about it.
It just wouldn't happen these days. Yeah, as simple as that.
I mean, D'Souza, when he took sort of hold of what he could see, and he was so driven. Adriano, I remember when Mick had that accident, tore his hamstring off. The Brazilians were watching him surf at the Gold Coast. I was working with a guy called Pablo Polino, and they're going, "Oh, he won't come back."
Yeah.
And I was like, You got to see this guy is super determined, and Fanning went on to great things. But those Brazilians, they're so driven.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they are, and we actually see that as a huge market for surf lakes as well, simply because we can offer a massive opportunity.
Who have you got looking at getting that licensee in Sao Paulo? Is that under wraps?
Yeah, we can't announce any of that at the moment just because there's non-disclosure agreements around
Fair
everything.
enough.
So, everything is silent until it's actually happening and the particular licensee wants to announce it.
Well, Brazil likes the party. They've got the Carnival and, tributing life to success and athleticism. It makes perfect sense that Surf Lake's going to get out there. Now, if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about Surf Lakes, Wayne, where do they go to and how do they find out more about it?
Yeah, well, it's quite simple. Go to surf-lakes.com.au and obviously our Facebook and Instagram platforms are updated regularly. We have a LinkedIn platform, but most of our inquiries or most people are sort of watching the video that we're actually, as I say, putting up to Facebook and Instagram in particular.
Watch your space to see what's going on with the wave quality?
Yeah, definitely. We'll have far greater, quality waves than we had previously. We did some testing prior to Christmas, as I was saying, so there was myself, Ben and Oki and Oksan Jay were all just surfing, and it's the first real chance that we've had to work out how to drive the machine.
Awesome.
And with that, the waves that we were producing on those days was just phenomenal. So with the reshaped reefs and again the capacity to drive the plunger higher, so we're talking stroke height at the moment, we're averaging around somewhere between 3.8 to 4.2 metre stroke to get the waves that we've actually seen so far. But
how big are they? The newer waves that you've seen?
Oh, look, it depends on the different break. So the island, we've been measuring it off the face height, and I know that's caused some conjecture because people are saying, oh, no, it's only a 3 foot or a 4 foot ocean wave, which it probably is. It's probably a solid 4 foot ocean wave.
That's all you want, but really. Like 9 times out of 10, right?
No, that's it. And most people who have said, we want bigger, we want more challenging, have got up to the site and can't take off and can't get down the line.
If you and I went to the beach now and it's 4 foot, which I think it is today, you'd be absolutely stoked.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And the sessions that we had prior to Christmas were a good solid 4 foot with a lot of water in the waves. So what we've basically determined is that in slowing the plunger down, it changes the whole shape of the wave. So while we were once opening all the valves and dropping it quite quickly, the water would then thump against the reef and create a different, experience on the wave to if we slowed it down. So there's slightly less water in the wave and it changes it from a Hawaiian wave to an Indo wave quite quickly. So what we'll see when we get back up and running is again, better quality waves, but also what we found was that we can actually reduce the stress on that particular machine. And as I say, if we're talking stroke height at the moment of around 4.2, there's the potential for it to go a lot higher. And obviously, if we can hit around the 5 metre mark, the waves are going to be bigger again. So we're excited about coming back.
That's awesome. I mean, the greatest product you work with at the moment is hydraulics and pneumatics. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah. No.
But did you ever think that would be something you'd be looking at, which is, obviously air-driven and fluid-driven tech, those are pretty incredible. They're very powerful, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, they can lift 1,400 tonne up and down every 6 seconds. That's pretty amazing. That's never been done in the history of the human race. So that's another milestone.
Guinness Book of Records.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You guys in it?
Not sure. I'll have to check it out.
Mate, I reckon it's a must check.
Yeah.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today, Wayne. To learn a little bit about yourself, can people sort of go and sort of investigate you a little bit?
It's pretty easy to find on all the Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. I'm not really sort of a bloke to put myself out there so much, but it's not hard to track me down if you want to.
So if you want to get a pre-license agreement, where can people, what's still available? It sounds like it's a land grab.
Yeah, well, essentially, our process is that, we take an inquiry. Most of the inquiries that we've had so far have been inbound. Obviously, people have watched the video, have looked at the website and so forth and come through that way. Once you have had that initial conversation with us, either myself or with Aaron, we then we get people to complete what's called an RFP or a request for proposal, where we learn more about each other and we can hand over information about the technology, and we can understand more about that particular entity and their dealings and their expertise, and whether that it's going to be a good fit. And then from there, we look to, again, locking off exclusive territories, and then we work towards the full license, and then obviously the construction going forward from that. So we're offering essentially a turnkey solution. So we drop the machine in all ready to run, all commissioned, and it's basically the operations team, again, which we can supply as well, can then move in and just, I guess, open the park to the public, and off you go. So we're trying to make it as seamless as possible.
That sounds like a really well thought out plan, but also too something that's a must, because if you don't have the right people commissioning, something of such value, and of safety and common sense.
That's it. And the whole reason behind, I guess, or how we came up with the 5 waves technology and so forth was a result of just brand management. And I didn't want to be representing, or I didn't want to be putting the brand out there and having it trashed by someone who's not following our protocol. So essentially the back end of the operations and so forth is a result of, again, just making sure that there's integrity in what we deliver as a brand, because if we don't, then people aren't going to turn up. So really important.
The experience you learn at EMAP, the masthead, this is the masthead, the 5 waves is everything. To have the ability to surf it, I'm sure that we're all going to be putting our hand up saying, can I jump in there? But have the ability to surf it yourself. You know that you've got something that's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's hugely exciting. It's just unreal. I can't speak. I can't tell you just how good it is. It is. Could
you have every surfer in Sydney that surfed today essentially get through one day of surfing in there and be soaked?
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That's unbelievable.
Absolutely no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt that no matter what level of surfer you are, what craft you ride, absolutely no doubt that you wouldn't walk away from that stoked.
Well, ladies and gents, if you want to know a little bit more about the Surf Lakes technology, at their 5 waves technology and the Surf Lakes brand, certainly look up Mr. Wayne Dart over here. He's not only a good fella, and he's also an entrepreneur and someone who knows what is successful and what isn't. Wayne, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting today on the Brand Connect, mate.
Yeah, same. No, it's been good to catch up.
Tell you what, ladies and gents, if you're going to get into something, do your research, love yourself, make sure that you love what you're touching, because if you don't, you're kidding yourself. And at the end of the day, you want to go out and push something to people that you're super proud of. And if you love it, I'm sure that the UI, the user interface, or the end user, the user experience, is really going to enjoy it. Essentially, if you got something you don't love, you're going to fall over every time. Catch you next time on the Brand Connect.
BK was proudly brought to you by Brand Konnects, made possible by the support of Paulie B, Future Signage, and others. Many thanks to our special guest and you, our loyal followers. Catch you next time on the BK.